we were in a position to see the slide few minutes back. Now, yes.
Okay. Yeah. எனக்கு இங்க sharing is past வருது.
இல்ல, it is getting shared. You can start.
Okay. So, Mani, I'm starting now.
Yes, ma'am.
So if we see the entire IT syllabus, today we'll only see the gambit of your entire the course content and we'll see that.
Yeah, sure.
So I think the entire BEC you'll have about 62 MCQs and 4 task-based questions and 3 written questions. So on an average, maybe IT you'll have about 7 to 8 questions, from somewhere ranging between 4 to 8 questions in MCQs. And maybe 1 task-based question and 1 written questions you could have. I mean, total if you see BEC. So now, just to give you an idea of what the subject is all about. As you know, most of the concepts you would have done in inter and final, you being a CA, but still we'll just quickly go through, because I noticed that you do get questions based on some fundamentals. So basically, what is a computer? We use it to calculate, and it's an electronic device to perform arithmetic operations. And it is also a data processor. Now, why do we say data processor? Because it can store, process, and retrieve data. Now, quickly, we'll see evolution of computers. You very well know it all started from a mechanical adding machine. Then we had multiplication, then keyboard. Then you must have seen that it was a big mainframe computer. Then we had, obviously, Charles Babbage, who is the father of modern digital computers, where the entire unit was brought and we started having very small machines. So he was the one who brought in difference engine, analytical engine, and established a lot of principles for the design of a computer. Now, when we say generation, it is a step in technology. Nowadays, we also talk about hardware and software. Previously, only people referred to hardware. So very quickly, we can see the different generations. Now we are in the 5th generation. I noticed that there are some questions, referring to transistor or magnetic tape or secondary memory. So just to know, or assembly and machine language. So that way we just have to know what each generation pertains to.
Yeah, okay, ma'am.
Now, hardware refers to physical devices. Software is collection of programs, and program is sequence of instructions, and software packages group of programs. Now, in the software package, system software, though it all seems, definition at a very nascent stage, but if you see, there are questions where you have the logical and physical controls and all, where they are referring to these terms. So we need to be very clear about the definitions. Now, system software, it extends the processing capability. This is a key word. System software like OS and languages and etc. And application software is for a specific program like Tally, Word. Now, language classification, it all starts with hardware at the grassroots level. Then you have the machine language, which is not comprehensible by us. Then we have the assembly language, then high language. Then after that, we have like languages like C, Pascal, where we are able to communicate in the language that we understand. Now, the entire gambit of the syllabus, if you see, or in any organization that we are going to see information systems, there are information system assets. What are the assets? Like we have hardware, software, data, people, network. The entire thing that you are going to study or, practice in your profession or whatever you are going to do, the main priority of the objective is to protect these assets. It all, emanates from the fact that these assets have to be protected. These have to be, guarded, and how we are going to do that. All our objectives or whatever we are going to learn is based on this. So the assets are hardware, software, data, people, and network. Now, if you see the any organization, they do have policies. Then there are processes facilitated by applications. Then there are procedures. Where they decide, like an organization hierarchy, where we are going to decide how the policies are going to be implemented. Then we have the standards like COBIT, ISO, etc., which governs these procedures or procedures and processes. Then the entire thing is governed by something called control objectives. What are control objectives? It basically tells us like what we need to do based on the gambit that we have, because every organization they will decide their policies, processes or procedures. So based on the gambit of their operation, what are the objectives that we have? Then we have physical and logical access controls, which we will be doing it in detail. So these controls are required to fulfill those objectives, because having objectives alone is not going to help us. We need to know what we are going to do to ensure that the objectives are met. Then of course we have the risk assessment, where time and often we try to it is like an audit trial, where we try to check whether things are intact. So that is risk assessment. Then we have something in case of we are not able to fulfill anything, or there is a disaster, or there is an interruption or disturbance. We have things like BCP and DRP. Now BCP is business continuity planning, DRP is disaster recovery planning, and we are going to see what are the things that we are going to do to achieve these things. So this is the gambit of the entire syllabus that we are going to see. Do you have any doubts here?
No, ma'am. Yeah, I'm fine with it. Yeah.
Okay. Now we are again going to see some basic, fundamental concepts which you have already studied. But if you see, there are questions like as simple as what is a field record, also asked in CPA. So let's quickly browse through this. Now data means what? It is an objective measurement of attributes. Now what is objective measurement? We call, entities like people, place, things and event. So the number of people attending an event, or the cities that are involved, something like that. So basically data is something like calling a name. Your whatever you are doing needs to have a recognition. So that is a data. It's objective measurement. Why do I say objective? You can't say that even if you are going to put values governing my organization, gratitude, faithfulness, even that is going to have a value. That's why it's called objective measurement. Now information is data converted into meaningful and useful content. And DBMS, very, very important topic, because I see a lot of questions based on this. Set of system software programs. You need to know this. They are not application software, they are system software, because they extend the processing capability. And usually request for access, updating and retrieval is done by DBMS. Now DBMS is what? We are just storing a group of data or information inside the computer, which is going to aid us in our operations, extends our processing capability. Now what do you think are going to be the issues with this? Like for example, you might need to access or update or retrieve, modify. Now all these cannot be done by everybody. So we are going to have a list of process procedures in place. Who is going to segregation of duties, like who is going to be given access, who is not going to be given access, what should be done, what are the commands to be followed, and all that. Now backup and recovery. Recovery means what? Sequence of tasks performed to restore a database to some point in time. That some point in time is the keyword. So here disaster recovery differs from database recovery, because you are going to recover everything. Tomorrow there is going to be earthquake or fire accident. All your assets, your IT assets are lost. How are you going to recover them? Then if you see backup, you have full backup where everything is backup. Incremental backup is then and there you do. And live backup is like, recording, or, as and when the processing happens, you are trying to back it up to a different source. We'll be doing this in detail later. Then data center is a centralized repository for storage, manage and dissemination of data. Now, time and often we see that not every organization is going to have a fully equipped site where they can have all their servers in place. So data center comes to help, where you have, it's a centralized repository. So lot of information is stored there, and time and again, questions like how are we going to retrieve it, or how are we going to access it, concepts like data mining, etc., will come. Now DRP is disaster recovery planning. Now every organization needs to have a DRP in place. Now if you see, there are a lot of alternatives for DRP, like you have the hot site, which is fully equipped. That means what? Everything is intact. Once if there is a disaster today, you go to a different site where everything is in place. Then you have a warm site, which is partially equipped, and a cold site, only the equipments and the environment is given to you. Rest of it is yours. You will have to take it, continue your operations. Now BCP is
Yes.
Yes, sir.
No. Just told yes. Yeah.
So you're saying something?
No, ma'am. I was just telling yes. Yeah. Okay.
Okay,
That's it.
okay. So BCP is a documented description of action, resources, and procedures to be followed before, during, and after the disaster occurs. This is very, very important keywords. So BCP is basically a documented description. We decide it's a plan. So when we have a plan, we have a procedure in place. Then there is a hierarchy to be followed, and there is a standard based on which the plan is followed. Then critical areas to be identified. So this again we'll be doing it in detail in business resiliency. So the next is network. Now if you see network, it's a collection of computers connected by a communication system. You have LAN, MAN, WAN and wireless LAN. Now again I see if you see your simulation questions, there are very grassroots questions like topology or what is a LAN, what is a MAN and things like that. Okay. So LAN, as you know, it is for a limited geographical area. Then MAN, as you know, it could be manned by few people, and WAN is a wide area network. Then we have wireless LAN, obviously, which is governed by internet. Then you have client server applications where where we use it in banking and e-commerce, and peer-to-peer model where it is one-to-one. Now transmission technologies, if you see, it is serial versus parallel. Serial is you go only one at a time. Parallel is it happens from both the sides. Then synchronous and asynchronous. Synchronous there are no packets, and asynchronous there are packets. And if you see transmission modes, they are singless, half duplex or full duplex. Singlex is only one way. Half duplex is this or that. And full duplex is both the ways. Now I'm talking about transmission. Now transmission is what? Data traveling between one computer to the other. And we have techniques in transmission, which is circuit switching. You could find some questions based on this. We'll do it in detail after some time. Now circuit switching, like a telephone where your transmission is based on a circuit. Then you have message switching like email, where the messages are sent in packets. Then you have packet switching where you have a header, footer, and each packet is sent. Now, most important, this is TCP/IP. Any idea what TCP/IP is? Money?
It's a protocol, ma'am. Actually, it's a protocol by which the data flows from one place to another.
Perfect. So basically, if you see the history, it was created by the Department of Defense. Why did they create it? If you see, history of internet, it all started with ARPANET, and there was people started connecting many computers, and a lot of data started flowing in. So in the event of a war, what happens is you need to protect your information. There are many systems involved. That is the time they came up with a protocol which is transmission control protocol or internet protocol. So now this has different layers, and they are governed by the OSI model, where every layer as the data passes through, there are set of rules that governs it. So at the outset, we don't have to go in detail for CPA. So at the outset, these are the layers. You have the physical layer, data link layer, network layer, transport layer, session layer, presentation layer, the application layer. Normally what is visible to our naked eyes is the application layer, because when we send an email or something, we are able to receive and process it. Then what is a firewall? In a network, firewall is an important concept. You could find some questions. So basically it controls the flow of messages between networks. It tries to act as a guard before something unauthorized happens or enters. So here it is placed at the boundary between internet and an organization's internal network. So here internal network is a very important keyword. So they could ask you questions like where a firewall is placed. So you need to know it is between internet and the organization's internal network. Then it enforces the security policy by prohibiting inbound traffic that should not be permitted. Now what does it do? Enforces the security policy. That security policy is again a keyword. No firewall is ever installed without something getting approved in the policy. So these are like our basics. Now we are going to go to encryption. Basically encryption is what? Hiding information in plain sight, making message useless to anyone intercepting the message, authenticates using keys. Now, internal controls. What are internal controls? Policies, procedures, mechanisms, systems, and other measures designed to reduce risk. So here, if you see, when we talk about control, what do you think are the objectives of a control? The main objective is to reduce risk. We don't want anything untoward happening to our assets. We want things to be in place, organized, so that the processing goes on. So here, why do we have controls? The organization objective should be met, risk reduced, and error prevented and corrected. So one of this could be your MCQs. And controls created to achieve results and to avoid unwanted events. Now, what are the types of controls? You have the physical control that exists in the tangible physical world, like video surveillance, fences. You say, okay, don't touch it. That is a physical control. Or you have a log which says who is entering. As simple as somebody entering your society. You could have a guard sitting there and recording things. Then you have technical, which is intangible. So encryption, computer access control, audit logs. Now, what are audit logs? It's very important that we know what are audit logs and get some clarity. Audit logs are what? It is basically recording everything. It's a log. Like who is coming, who is going, or when we go and retract information, we need to have an assessment, a report of whatever has happened. That's called an audit log. Then administrative control that forbid or require certain activities. Like for example, all the employees are prohibited from signing on to Facebook using your office computer or your office laptop. That is administrative control. We don't want people to go. Now, classes of control, if you see, they are preventive, like computer login screens, key card system, encryption. So we prevent before something has happened, before something happens. And then we have the detective control. This is record both unwanted and wanted event, like video surveillance and audit logs. It is very important we are very clear with the examples of each control, because you could have MCQs based on that. And deterrent, convince someone that they should not perform some activity like warning signal, guard dogs, camera and monitor. Like, there are times when we are not able to communicate something to someone. For example, if you see the recent case of Wells Fargo executive urinating on somebody in Air India flight. See,
so that my company, ma'am.
Oh, acha, okay. Okay. See, that's a very, very untoward incident, because first it creates a lot of embarrassment for the person, and how much ever you convince, it is very difficult. So there are times, now I see a lot of papers which are trying to, put imaginative description of what was the distance, etc., that is going on in news. So there are times, when we are not able to tell people. For example, another example I could give is, say you have a very trusted helper at home. You tell her not to touch something, you lock your almirah and go. But you still, there are things that you cannot tell or ask. Say a watch got stolen or something at your place. Maybe you install a camera and see if something has happened. So that is like deterrent, that they should not perform. Maybe just by seeing the camera, they won't do it. Then corrective is improving a process when it's found detective. After everything has happened, what we are going to do to correct it. Compensating is when direct control cannot be used, like something like a supportive control. Say you have a log where all the incoming guests are entered, plus we also have a CCTV camera which is going to record it. Then recovery, use of tool to remove a virus. Now recovery is also important. Say something has already happened, what are we going to do to come back to its original shape? Now internal control objectives. First, internal control. This is a very, very important slide, because the entire gambit of what we are going to study is based on one common rule, which is to protect information assets. What are IT assets? Like I already told, hardware, software, network, people, these are data. Now, accuracy of transaction. Now, accuracy of transaction is very important, because we are talking about an information technology environment. Like for example, you place an order in Amazon and somebody charges you more, less. So accuracy of transaction is very, very important. And confidentiality and privacy. Time and again we see, this website got compromised, or your Aadhaar details are compromised, or when you go for a vaccine center, you get a message saying that you've already been vaccinated. We hear all this in the country that we live in now. because there is a loophole somewhere. So confidentiality and privacy is very important. Then availability of IT systems. This is very, very important. Say every time you log in, or the grassroots level, you try to purchase something or do something, right at a time when you are entering your CVV, there is a system, the IT system doesn't function. It is a problem for you. So availability of IT system is very, very important, not only for the processing, for the ongoing processing, but also for your backup. It is very, very important. Then control changes to IT system. Now, how do you get control changes to IT system? Whenever there is a change, say there is a patch management that has to be installed, or you want to change something in your system, we have a set of rules in place, like segregation of duties. Not everybody is given access. So whoever is given access does it. And they're all controlled, and they're also audit logged. Nothing happens without recording or putting it somewhere. Compliance with corporate objectives. Any objective you have, it has to comply with your corporate objectives. So this is one important slide where you can find 1 or 2 questions based on this. Then information system control objectives. Protection of information from unauthorized person. Protection from unauthorized modification. Integrity of OS. Nobody should be able to have access to your system. Control and manage changes to IS. The same thing. And control and manage development of application software. Somebody does something, say installs a Trojan in your software, in your office banking software. Let's take time and again we see, the server is down in a bank, or it has got compromised. These things happen because, somebody comes and enters or intrudes it. So protection of information from unauthorized person, modification, integrity, and control and manage changes to IS, and control and manage development of application software. Now, development of application software itself is a big process, because not say you're a bank or something, you don't get to process your application software in one letter or one moment. It undergoes a lot of process, which would have studied system development life cycle.
Yeah, SDLC.
Yeah, but we don't have SDLC in detail, or rather I don't find the term at all. So we don't have to go in detail, but just know that, these things go through a series of process. And COBIT, just like your accounting standards or your other standards, we have COBIT, which is control objectives for information and related technology. Now again, they are objectives to ensure IT is aligned with business objectives. That's the first one. Always the first one in any IT standards, if you take, this could be one important point, because your IT should be aligned with your business objectives. Otherwise, there's no point, because your IT helps in your processing capability or improving it. And the main goal is our business objectives. Then it has 4 domains and 34 processes, industry-wide best standard, and established in 1996 by ISACA and IT Governance Institute. And it has 4 domains, which is plan, organize, acquire and implement, deliver and support, and monitor and evaluate. Just like your SDLC or anything that you buy, you need to plan, organize. Then how are you going to acquire and implement it? And how are you going to deliver and support, as in like after sales service? And finally, monitor and evaluate. Now, the entire gambit of controls can be something you know, something you have, or something you are. Now, something you know is like user ID, password, etc. Something you have is cards, digital certificate, and something you are is biometric. So based on this, you could have 2-level control, compensating controls, whatever. Now, before we go to data, I think we can go through one simulation question we can try.
Yeah, sure.
Just give me a minute. Can you see that now?
Yes, ma'am. Yeah. The controls.
Okay. Yeah. Controls that respond to risk associated with IT. Now, as a member of the internal audit team for a large corporation, you are involved in a major company-wide information technology update. Your concern as an internal auditor is adequate controls. Your knowledge of COBIT assists you in writing a memo to management about the 7 business control objectives that should be met while designing the new system. Provide a description of each objective. Now, this is a written question, and also there are some probing questions which we can go through. You can just go through the question once more.
Yeah, sure. So basically, yeah, we have to write the objectives of the COBIT actually, right? So and
Not just objectives of COBIT, because that COBIT is given to actually distract you. As in, once a student reads it, you will be so stuck up with COBIT that you will forget what are the other things. Okay. So, for example, if you see, they are asking you, internal auditor, your knowledge of COBIT assists you in writing a memo to man. Now, COBIT, you are not going to do it in detail. Now, if you see your syllabus, we are just, learning what COBIT is. That's all. So, how are you going to write this? So here, if you see 7 business control objectives that should be met while designing the new system. Now, even if you don't know 7, you must be knowing some things like, security, availability, integrity, then privacy, confidentiality. These are keywords that you know. So even if you have not done COBIT, you should be able to write something with these objectives, because in any IT environment, these are the main objectives. So first thing, the system must be available. This means that employees are able to enter, update, process and retrieve data as needed. Downtime should be minimized to ensure productivity. So the system should be available, first thing. Then the system should assist the company with complying with legal requirements. Knowing the information that the company is required to track and report, we can design the system to capture and communicate that information in a timely manner. Then confidentiality, just like I said, this whether irrespective of whether you are prepared for the answer or not, confidentiality could be one thing. Okay. Then strong passwords that limit individuals and privacy of sensitive company information. Then it is effective. See, one thing I want you to note, whenever you find, just like going back to our kindergarten or your foundation level, you must have had a subject called management, where we time and again we keep hearing the word efficiency and effectiveness. Just like how we answered basic questions all through our life, you should know that effective is always to do with time bound. It is about time. Efficient, it is about resources. So irrespective of what questions you get in CPA, you should know your one of your options which has got this keyword would be the answer. So we must be concerned that the system is effective. It is timely information. Can you see, in the form of easy, read helpful report, the system should supply the necessary information to make work easier. Then efficiency, it talks about resources. Somewhere there will be that word, or what should be done. So here, if you see, the business that provide designed computer system can help us achieve information process through this to streamline the workflow. Now, streamline the workflow is an important keyword, and not create additional steps or procedures to work to make work more cumbersome. Then integrity, in an unimpaired manner, processing is complete, accurate, timely and free from unauthorized or inadvertent system manipulation. Then the system must be reliable. Now, reliability, based on reliability, there could be a lot of questions, because reliability means it is everything put together. Like it is available, it is safe, it is maintainable, there is integrity, everything. So the system should be free from unauthorized physical and logical access. Any change to the system should be made and communicated without affecting system availability. We must design and implement prevent detective controls, and these controls should be examined, system changes and grow with the company. So everything that we have learned is put into one thing, which is
reliability. Yes.
Yeah. So basically, availability, confidentiality, legal requirements, effective, efficient, integrity and reliability. Now let's see some probing questions. The ability of employees to enter information into a system as needed speaks to the system's what? Accessibility, availability, open network structure and productivity. See, normally I just want to tell before, I'm going to ask you to answer this, but then normally if you see the MCQs, the way that you have to approach, especially information technology, always look for keywords. We would have done techniques like mind mapping when we, studied. So here you should know what words are there in the question and what words could be there in the objectives which could link with that. Now, if you see, normally out of the 4 options, 2 normally you can completely alienate because it has no connection. Maybe the other 2 you will get confused. With that, you will have to choose. Now, if you see here, the ability of the employees to enter information into a system as needed. Now, as needed is the keyword. Speaks of the system's what? Now, when we say enter information, your open network structure is not going to be something for our concern. Productivity is not of the concern. Pardon?
Yeah, even productivity is negated.
Yeah, negated. So we have only accessibility and availability. What could be the answer?
Employees to enter information into a system as needed. So I think it's accessibility.
No, it is availability. We just saw no availability. Okay. See, this is what I want to tell you. When we say accessibility, it is only about access. Okay. Now here we are telling you enter information as and when needed. As and when needed, you need to enter information as and when needed. When we talk about accessibility, it is only your right to enter information. Okay. So as and when
only when it's available, you can access it.
Exactly. So here it is only available. I mean availability. It means it can be accessed as needed in order to enter, update, process, and retrieve data. If the system is unavailable, employees are not productive.
Yeah, sure.
Now the next question is the company must track and report funds used from a federal pass-through grant. A system that captures and reports this information contributes to the business objective of what? Immunity, advanced functionality, effective oversight capabilities, compliance with legal requirements. Now here the keyword is the company must track and report funds used from a federal pass-through grant. Now federal is the keyword.
Yeah, compliance with legal requirements.
Exactly. So it is quite easy. So in order to comply with legal requirements, it is one of the purpose of internal controls which we saw. So here the system can be designed to assist in the process by capturing and communicating the information. Strong passwords assist with maintaining system what? Confidentiality, complexity, organization and partition. Now if you see straight away this partition organization is negated.
Yeah, confidentiality.
It's not working. 1 minute. It got freeze. Just a minute. You're able to see the slide, no?
Not right now, ma'am. I was, but not right now.
Acha, okay, 1 minute. I think now you can see.
Yeah.
Yeah. So here logical access controls, passwords and user access limit the viewing and dissemination of sensitive company information. In this manner, the system helps maintain the confidentiality of business data.
Yeah.
Now, if a system provides relevant, timely information, it is considered what? Threat-free, effective, strategically implemented, efficient.
Relevant, timely information. Relevant and timely information. I think it's effective.
Exactly. Like I told you, timely means effective. Anything to do with resources will be efficient.
Yeah, productivity is efficient.
Useful to the company and does its job. Now a dash IT system streamlines workflow. Secure, properly balanced, efficient, centralized.
Efficient.
Yeah, perfect.
So we saw that in the control.
Exactly. So if a system is free from unauthorized or inadvertent system manipulation, it is said to have integrity, exposure, adequate resources, effective controls. Here the key word is manipulation and inadvertent system manipulation.
It's integrity.
Perfect. Okay, so that is free from impairments. The system functions in a complete, accurate, timely and secure manner. A system that is available, secure and maintainable and has integrity is a dash system.
Reliable system.
Perfect.
Basically all the controls together.
Yeah, so it's free from downtime, protected from theft, improper use, destruction, everything.
Yeah.
Just a minute. So we did one simulation question now. You're able to see, no?
Yeah, right now. Yeah.
Okay. So now let's just move on to data. Now again there are you could have one or two MCQs based on this. So here it starts with bit, which is binary digit, smallest unit of data. Then you have the byte, which is group of bits. Then character, which is a letter, number, symbol. Then there's a field, which has group of characters. Record, then it is group of fields. Then you have file. So like how can you remember? There could be a question based on the hierarchy. What I normally tell is, obviously you know it starts with B. So just go on with alphabetic order, B, C, F, R. And obviously the last one is a file, which is a group of records. So that way you will be able to remember it also.
Yes.
Now data structures, files, they could have a master file and a transaction file. Now master file, if you see, permanently stores cumulative information. Permanently is the keyword. And transaction is temporary file. It contains, you know, as and when for a specific period of time. And archive, obviously, it is record of past transaction and periods. Reference files referred to during processing. So data structures could be, you know, there could be 4 types of file, which is master file, transaction file, archive and reference.
Reference, yeah.
Then types of processing system, if you see, this is very, very important because your entire, the first few pages of your CPA material, it goes on and on about the different processing systems. Now, you know, we have learned all this, but just that you will have to see that in tandem with your IT objectives. So now the first one is a batch operating system. As you know, it processes in batches. It is very, very hierarchical. It takes a lot of time. These are things that we have already studied, isn't it?
Yeah.
So processed in batches as a sequence of transaction one at a time. Output is stored in a sequential file. Delay in processing and recognition of error because of the quantum of operations, and used for high volume repetitive task. When you know they are repetitive and high volume, then you use batch processing system. Then you have online real-time processing where data is captured and checked for accuracy and completeness. Master file is updated for each transaction because it is real-time processing. Data is processed fast enough to get the response in time. So as and when something happens, you know, it is processed. Now the example that I could give you for both is, say you have a normal kirana shop where this guy writes stock in, stock out using a ledger. That could be batch. Then finally at the end of the day, you know, he will process and say, okay, so many kgs of atta is sold and this much is not sold. There is an online real time processing. Say you walk into a Decathlon shop, you ask for hiking shoes or something, and he tells you that this size is not available. Immediately, you know, he opens his phone, he's able to see the stock out and tell you, isn't it? So that is like a real time, because as and when a sale is happened, the software gets updated. Decision making is complete and up to date. Errors easily corrected. So that is online real time. So these are the keywords you need to know, because errors are easily corrected. Decision making is complete. It is processed then and there, and it is also accurate and complete. The distributed data processing. Here you have transactions are processed at various sites. Processing errors occurs among network of computers all connected to the main computer. reduces workload of the main computer. Data security is a concern. Why is data security a concern? Because there are too many geographical points where the processing happens. See, you could have a question like this, okay? Based on distributed data processing and say a DRP, you could have a question in tandem like, tomorrow you have a distributed data operations. Say you have 5 branches of your retail showroom and suddenly there is a disaster stuck in at least 4 showrooms. Where should you immediately transfer your processing? Should it be to a place where there is no disaster, or should you go to a hot site, warm site, or cold site? What would you answer?
I would go for a place of mine where there is no disaster, because again, hot site, warm site, it is a third party site basically.
And not only that, more than third party site, it involves cost. See, whatever you answer should be based on the cost perspective. As in, like if you see, they would only think of, breach of control, confidentiality, and cost. If it's your own site, there is no cost involved. But yeah, good. So
Yeah.
then we have the data warehouse system where it is historical data from multiple sources into a single database for analysis and reporting. Two types of workload can be executed. That means what workload is how we are going to stuff the data into the warehouse. It could be batch workload to extract, clean, reconcile, transform, and load, or it could be a query engine used against a warehouse. Now, what is a query engine? Time and again we see this government data warehouses where normally where you see a hero walks in, he'll be accessing so much of data arrayed into various shelf, and then he'll pick up one. That is batch. In a query engine, no, it is automated. That means you are able to ask if and then questions. You put a year, just like how you are able to download your birth certificate or get a death certificate or any other government source. We are able to just put the year of birth, the place of birth, and the hospital. We are able to download it, isn't it? That's called a query engine. Now this is used against a warehouse because we are able to check if there are any modifications or interruptions or any unauthorized intrusions into the warehouse. Now types of databases, you have the hierarchical database where it is categorized based on a common point of linkage. Just like our old times where we studied, it is like managing director working under 3 managers, or a father has 3 sons, etc. Then you have network hierarchical model where though it is like an extension of hierarchical, but it is connected to other sources as well. Okay, it is like for example Sreeram coaching point, CPA, under it money studies, but say you also do other courses, you are also in the charts of other courses. So that is a network model.
Yeah.
Then object oriented database, this is for people who are familiar with this thing, where the reference is made as in like a C plus or something where a language is written and you are able to refer to something that's already there. Like for example, what can you say, like there's a C program and you write it in brackets, and then there's a set of things that you write. And this database responds to that queries which is written in a language. Like there are 10 steps and you get the final answer as what is the square root of some 289, and you write 10 steps and you get 17. So that is object oriented database based on a list of things. Then you have relational database model, again very very important, because I can sense that maybe you get 1 or 2 questions based on that. Now here what happens is, from every database, from every table or field that is made, the data is having relation with other databases also. So in that way, if somebody wants to change a particular table, they will not be able to do, because it has linked with so many other tables. That way it acts as a god. So in this, every piece of information has a relationship with every other piece of information. This is on account of every data value in the database having a unique identity in the form of a record. Note that all data is tabulated in this model. Therefore, every row in the database linked with another row using a primary key. Similarly, every table is linked with another table using a foreign key. Now, something like this, you have the roll number, student name, and marks awarded. Then again, you try to, like using data analytics, you try to sort it. who are the people who got 94 marks, again those two names come. Then again you write who are the people who have got a rank. So basically you know every table is related to one another. So what is the advantage of this? If somebody wants to, you know, modify something, they cannot, because it is linked to other tables. It has become exceedingly popular because, you know, the way it is organized. In consequence, they are widely integrated to web app interfaces to serve as ideal repositories for user data. Like what example can I tell you is, assuming that you purchase something, okay, like say you go and purchase something in a lifestyle showroom. Immediately what happens is you are being linked to your mobile phone, your name, and also they start analyzing the pattern of your purchase. And also there is another database which is processing and giving you a message that you have won so many thousand points because of your purchase today. That is also done. And simultaneously they also tell you if there are any other offers. It goes to that table where any other offers or promotions are being emailed to you. Now if you see, the same name is, you know, linked in all the tables. Okay, so that way nowadays if you see, relational database is being, it is people are using it because it is easy to comprehend. It is also worth being aware of the fact that in relational database, scaling and traversing through data is quite a lightweighted task in comparison to hierarchical. And also it helps you to, it is not a hierarchical model where you have to go follow a sequence. Anytime you want something, you are able to access it. So all that you have to know from the CPA point of view is relational database are becoming very most optimum method of database, and it is also linked with web-based applications because of its ease, lightweightedness, and also it's not like hierarchical where you have to access it sequentially, and it also helps you in security.
Yeah, but in case of a data universe or data lake, probably we'll be using both hierarchical database with relational database in order to link most of the data and bring it to a one place, and then we'll be giving the outputs, right? So is my understanding right?
No, can you repeat it?
So in case of big organizations where we have a lot of TPS, transaction processing systems, and other
Yeah.
processing
Okay.
systems,
Mm-hmm.
so we would require both the hierarchical databases and the relational database together to bring all the data into one place and then give the output to the
Yeah,
users.
obviously. See, it all depends on the, the type of business operations that is carried out. It is need based. So there is nothing like one best rule. See, basically the models exist because whoever wants whatever is able to opt for it.
Okay, yeah.
So you can have a hybrid model also. The best part of information system is whatever you do, there is a hybrid model which comes and, you know, helps you. You are able to take anything from anywhere in whole or partial.
Okay, yeah.
Then we have the time sharing where the computer resources are shared among many users concurrently by multi-programming and multitasking. Display devices connected with the operating system, process and a common server. Users can use programs that interact with the display. Then you have the client server. Basically, what is a client server? There's a centralized client, a server that is related to many clients. A client is a user machine which provides a user interface and local processing capabilities. When any client requires additional functionality like database access, it can connect to the server that is capable of providing the functionality needed by the client. Basically, server is a machine that provides services to the client. So then we have the DBMS. See, when I talk about DBMS, the things that you ought to know is first, what is the primary objective? Is to protect our data because it is one important information asset. Then two, what kind of problems come when there is data? Obviously, someone wants to access it, someone wants to modify it, someone wants to retrieve it, and it goes on. So how are we going to, keep things in order to ensure that these things also happen? At the same time, it also helps in our processing capability. So basically, it is a software application that interacts with the user, permitting access to information. This access to information is very, very important keyword because DBMS helps you to access information because it is at one place. Then application dependent. Do not run application program but does creation, querying, updating and administration of database. Why is it application dependent? Because it is what you are going to use and pertaining to your business objectives and your business operations, you are going to have a DBMS. There's nothing like, there is only one DBMS. For example, you have a Tally has got a purpose. Now there is some other software, it has got a purpose. So like that, your DBMS is pertaining to your business. Now, there are certain terms that you need to get familiar when we talk about DBMS. The first one is a DBA, who is a database administrator. Now, designs and maintains database and security measures, he is the one who implements. So basically, he's the administrator, he designs and maintains the database. Data librarian, very important. You could have one or two questions from based on this. He maintains custody of data. So always the custody is by the data librarian. Data dictionary is something, all the terms related to the database is put into it. So it is a description of all data items, stores and flows in a system. In data language, you could have query, manipulation and control. When you want to ask something, or when you want to manipulate or make changes, or when you want to control it, you have, like, for example, there are shortcut keys which are told to you. Okay, so you know that control plus S is something, control alt delete is something, this is something. So like that, the language is, processed for every database management system, and within that you try to operate it. Now, just give me a minute before we go to EDI.
Yeah, sure.
Now, all the transmission techniques or switching techniques that we quickly went through, you could have simulation questions based on that also.
Okay.
So like we might think these are, basics that we studied. It might not have, it might not be in the material also, but I sense that, some basic fundamental questions like what is a LAN, like I told you, LAN, WAN, MAN, like, those things are also asked. So as days progress, we'll do some more simulation questions.
Yeah, sure.
You have any doubts up to here, you can ask me.
No, ma'am, nothing in specific. So basically, yeah.
Okay. So now we are going to go to an important topic, which is electronic data interchange. Now, computer to computer exchange of business transactions and documents in a standard data format. So basically, it is only exchange of business transactions, and it involves in a standard format. It has a translation software, and the business transactions are shared only in a standard format. Now, why do you think we'll have to share it in a standard format? Just to ensure they are safe, there is confidentiality and privacy, and it also helps in ease of operations. Replaces paper forms of documents, reducing inaccuracies, business cost and time. Entities are trading partners. When we talk about entities, they are trading partners, because we are only going to talk about business to business transaction when we talk about EDI. Requires that all of the transaction must be in a standard data format. We have a mapping process, and it will map it to the data element. We can have translation software, and translation software will convert the transactions from one format to another. EDI standards detail the format of the document to facilitate the exchange of the information. One question could be, what would be the cost involved in EDI? You can say that, the cost of buying a translation software is a very, very important cost, and therefore it makes it very, very expensive in spite of all the benefits that it gives. One question could be like that. Now, advantages of EDI is cost savings because we have a lot less human interaction, fewer manual data entry errors for shipping and billing because everything is in a standard format, cost savings in the area of electronically storing and manipulating the data. Without manual human entry and without paper documents, we have increased speed because the partners can send and receive the data rapidly, and that's going to reduce cycle time and reducing the risk of a stock out. Now, you could have a question like, say an organization has been buying so many units of stock, and every time there is wastage of stock or there is stock, or let's just take it more specific. Maybe I can put like this. Say you are a kirana, I mean normal grocery shop that you're running, and you tend to buy 100 kgs of atta every month or every 15 days. And it so happens that you have not installed EDI. So what happens is at the end of 15th day, you observe that there is always 25 to 30 kgs remaining, which could have been planned better. Okay. So now here, if I ask you that by installing EDI, can we say that without manual human entry and without paper documents, can we say that we don't need without having human intervention at all, just by installing EDI, I will be able to organize my needs? Yes, you will be, because this is completely in the days that is going to come. It is going to completely reduce the human intervention, and EDI can completely take over. That is the point you need to know. So without paper, how is that is happening here? Because your every sale or your purchase is going to be through EDI. And what happens is you will get to know how much to buy. It guides you how much to sell and how much is, by that way your cost is reduced because you are not going to have extra stock at the end of the month.
So, ma'am, just wanted to know if
Yeah.
ED is only applicable for the trading partners. So, I was of the opinion that electronic data interchange is a mechanism whereby data exchange of data takes place between two mutually agreed partners. So, basically, I thought that okay, for example,
No,
if
see what? Yeah. You tell me. Okay.
so if there is an information from income tax to the GST,
Okay.
so it can be done through EDI to minimize the paperwork and stuff between two departments of the uh, economy. I mean India ministry.
Okay. See, it is something like this. Okay. Just to give you an example, most of the Indians drink tea that is made of milk, right? So we call it a tea. But if you go to Japan, tea is only made with hot water. Do you agree with that?
Yeah.
So, see, we are using the term EDI just like how we use many terms colloquially. But if you talk about the GST, whatever the example that you gave, it is actually XBRL where the financial information shared in a standard format. And similar way, we call e-commerce. Now we are calling buying in Amazon also as e-commerce, isn't it?
Yeah.
So, but whereas it is called e-business, e-commerce is only business to business, or business to consumer is called e-commerce. Okay, we will go through that. So EDI is only between trading entities. But we say okay because they also follow a protocol like that. We say that is also EDI. No, EDI is only between trading entities.
Okay, ma'am. Got it. Yeah.
We'll go to that XBRL also. I'll explain you that in detail.
Sure.
So here cost is legal cost because that's going to be related to having to modify your contracts with your business partners, so that there's some setup cost because setting up legal setup. See, and also nowadays there's a lot of things that you need to take care. Like as we go through, I'll tell you. So here obtaining the communication hardware and the equipment. So we are going to need servers and modems, routers and whatnot, because you're going to need entire setup. It is not that you're going to note down in a diary and say, okay, it's done, isn't it? And we may also have to purchase a translation software. I just told you that the translation software could be an important cost. Okay. And then finally, we have to be concerned about the security, the monitoring and control procedures. See, any software or any web-based app or anything that you are planning to install or integrate into your system, we should always be involved of the security control procedures, ensure they are in line with the business objectives, then there should be control objectives in place and etc. And along with those additional costs, we have some risks that are associated with EDI. What are the risks? Now, before we go to this, normally you could have a question based on risk. So what do you think are the outcomes of a risk? What do you think an organization can do with any risk? It could be any risk.
Control should be in place so that risk can be minimized. So
No. What are the outcomes? See, either you can accept the risk.
data compromise.
No. I'm asking the outcomes of risk, as in there is a risk existing. What
Okay.
do you think would be the outcome? Like for example, on the other hand, say today you are planning to get out of home, go somewhere. You
So
know,
business reputation gets hampered.
No. Let's get more specific. See, suppose today you are planning to get out of home. You know
Okay.
there is a weather forecast which says that today it is going to rain. You
Okay.
are ready for that, so you decide to venture out. So
Mhm.
here there is a known risk that it is going to rain. So what do you
Okay.
think could be your outcome of that risk? Either you have to accept it and say, okay, maybe little drizzling, I will accept it. Or
Okay.
two, what
Got it.
you do, okay, let me just park my bike or car, and then, just travel. Or you try to mitigate it. How do you mitigate it? You reduce the gravity of the risk by carrying an umbrella or something. Or you completely reject the risk and say, I am not venturing out at all today. Okay. This is from a personal example.
Okay. Got
Same
it.
way, any organization, they have only these outcomes. If the risk is within a bearable limit, they'll say, okay, come, let's accept it. Or they could transfer the risk. How is transferring the risk? So there is a risk involved. You try to transfer it by saying that, you either change the level of your operations or you put the blame on somebody else. Okay, something like that. Then you mitigate the risk. How can you mitigate the risk? We are mitigating the risk by we are reducing the gravity. Like today there is a natural disaster. I try to put my operations to a place which is not affected. That is mitigating the risk. I know there is a risk. Risk has happened. Now there is a disaster. I am trying to reduce the gravity of it by mitigating it. Okay. So in this perspective, you will have to look at everything. Got it. So
Yeah.
here
Got
if
it.
you see,
So
you
basically, how you respond to the risks, either accept it,
exactly.
reject it, share it. You can share the risk, or you can transfer the risk, or you can mitigate the risk. So these are the things.
Exactly.
Got it.
Yes. Since EDA has very little human interaction, we have to be sure that our preventative controls are strong. Some of the risks that we face when using EDA. So normally we start from the basic level. We try to put preventive control. But in spite of preventive control, something happens, we try to detect it. Again, in spite of detective, there is a problem. So you say deterrent, just like take your helper at home. You try to prevent her from stealing something. No, not happening. Then you try to detect it and say, okay, then you deter her. You say that don't do it. In spite of that, it's not happening. Then what you do, you try to control.
Corrective.
Yeah, corrective control. Then finally, what happens? You have the compensative controls. Okay, what to do? Let me have two controls in place. So the same way, with that perspective, you will have to look. Repudiation or rejection of our purchase transaction, invalid or erroneous data, and incomplete audit trail failures and unauthorized access. Now, if you see, let's go one by one. Repudiation or rejection of our purchase transactions, invalid or erroneous data. Now you try to purchase something from EDA perspective. You see there are transaction happening between two business entities, and one is trying to purchase, but the purchase he has paid, but say that doesn't get reflected in the system. It's a problem. Or he buys 10 kgs of atta, but only unfortunately zero is missed. Only 1 kg is entered. It's a problem. Incomplete audit trail. See what is the audit trail? Audit trail means logging every event that is happening in your system. That is called a audit trail because it leaves a trail. Trail means what? Something that is left. Something that it is a icon or it is a memento of what is happening. I write down. That's a log. So incomplete audit trail failures and unauthorized access because there is no. It is like normally we see somebody comes switches off the CCTV, steals and goes. So there is no audit trail and unauthorized access. You can imagine it like that. Then we have hackers, denial of service attacks, worms and virus. Some of the controls we would like to see in place that would mitigate some of those risks we just talked about would include computer logs, input controls that would ensure the field is reachable, the validity and the limit. We want to have software testing, business continuity plans, the system and data backup are critical. And you want to have firewall, encryption, intrusion detection, and of course antivirus software. So what are the things? See here they are covering all the preventive, detective and corrective controls. Okay. So now if you see they want to have antivirus software. Then you are talking about a firewall because you don't want anyone else to enter your ADI. Then you have intrusion detection. We have intrusion prevention, intrusion detection, where the intrusion is basically detected or prevented. It is something like a firewall only, but that device helps you. Then you also have encryption. Then we talk about, data input controls, which will be going in detail tomorrow. So here we talk about what computer logs, input controls, then you ensure that the field is reasonable. See, time and again, when we fill a form in a website or something, say they ask you the name, you try to put numbers, it will say that please enter in characters or please enter in alphabets. So that is like, yeah, so that is like checking the fields and logs. So this is all about the risk. What are the controls? Computer logs. What are logs? It's like an audit trail. Everything and anything that is entered is being recorded and logged. Then you have input controls like field, validity, and limit check. Like field check, validity is whether it is intact, whether something is valid, and limit check is you will have a limit. No, you set a limit. It is as good as your UPI not allowing you to process a transaction beyond 2000, something like that. Then software testing is very, very important. Whenever you have a web-based app or whenever you're doing something, you need to test it. For example, say you have a software, say a bank has a software to process home loans. Now, home loans, you will have to go through lot of checks. I mean, each client has to go lot of checking. Like, for example, you have a physical checking where they will go and see if your land is intact, the patta, chitta, all this is intact and all that. Then they also check your credibility where you have all your KYC documents are being checked. Now, in software testing, what we do is we try to enter, is the loan being processed without some testing being updated. For example, I go, money is there. He is one of my client. Now he has to undergo 3 processes. First thing, I will have to assess who he is, what is his income capability, etc. 2, I will have to go and do a physical checking of the land and if the documents are intact. 3, I will have to check his own KYC documents, and after processing all this, a home loan is processed. Now, by bypassing one of this in the software, am I able to go to the processing part where a loan is processed? Yes, then it is a problem. Okay, now time and again we see many of the top bank officials are being caught. The recent example of ICICI executive and all, where a lot of things are being bypassed and loans are given, etc. You must have read in the news. So here what they do is they try to bypass something and put some values and they just want to get rid of it. So when there's an audit trial, if you see an information system auditor, what does he do? His role is from the grassroots level, just like how a normal CA does. He has to go and check the software. System testing is an important part of information system audit, where we go and see if there is a bypass. We will have to tell them, no, boss, your software is having a problem. It is bypassing this. Please do it. Then they give it to the concerned technical team and get it done. Okay. So then BCP, which is business continuity planning. In case of, there is a failure, you need to have a plan in place. And one most important objective of BCP is to identify the critical areas. Now you have a business continuity plan. There is a disaster, striking. You want to continuity of business is very, very important. So here, what are the first thing, what would you do? I want to identify my critical areas. What is it I need to do immediately? What is it I need to continue immediately? That is what you will look. And firewall, encryption, intrusion detection, and antivirus. These are the controls. These are basically logical controls where you have the firewall, prevention, encryption, prevention, detection is intrusion detection, and antivirus is again, it could be a preventive or a corrective control. It falls under both categories. Now, the point that you asked, which is XBRL, you could have 1 or 2 questions based on this, which is Extensible Business Reporting Language. It was developed in 1998 by, obviously, Institute of Certified Public Accountants. Now, what does it say? It's a freely available global framework of accounting standard used for exchanging business information. XBRL is based on XML coding and is a standardized way of transmitting financial records around the world. Now, maybe your the balance sheet or whatever, it is available online, isn't it? Say tomorrow a company has got a investment plan or what do you call it, investment cycle, is it? There are things that are not easily let out to everybody. Okay, but you want to share it to the concerned party to who would be interested, you might use this. Okay.
Okay.
Now you could have one or two questions. So all that you have to know, keyword is it is exchanging business information, and it is based on XML coding, and it is a standardized way of transmitting financial records. So you can have some one or two keywords, one or two questions based on this. Then we e-business, which we normally call e-commerce in India, but e-business is a bit wider gambit from e-commerce. Improve internal and external business processes through internet and communication technology. Now, if you see a lot of operations, the scope of operations have changed from what it was 10 years ago, 15 years ago, isn't it? Many are able to operate around the world because of e-business. You have business to business, government to business, business to consumer is e-commerce, like I told you. Then you have government to consumer. So these are the different types of e-business. Okay. Now, e-business communications. Now, I would have told you the example of Amazon, isn't it? Now, if you see in Amazon, there are people, retailers who sell. Then there are people who sell old items. Then there are like old books, etc. Then people who get registered with Amazon and try to sell their product, maybe small-time entrepreneurs. Then there is one major industry that is coming up, which is writing review for products. Isn't it? So here, if you see the recent rule that has come in information system is people who write review should have actually used the product, or there are rules governing it. Otherwise, what was happening is, okay, today you write 100 reviews and we'll pay you this much. So when you buy a product, you really don't get to see a genuine review in Amazon. Okay, I'm talking about Amazon as one example. You could have an auction site, anything. So when people write reviews or when people do that, it has to be genuine. I know a children's product which got expanded in the last 4 years just by catching a market with people like housewives or people who have lost jobs, and their only duty was to write about that product in all social media platforms. So they were constantly writing without even using the product. And now the trend is, you can see a lot of social media influencers, they call, right? So what they do is say, give them a sample and they post a video saying, oh, I have used this and it's so good. So they try to influence you, catch up your attention because you are following them in Instagram or something. So all these, again, if you see the recent Indian tax laws have brought saying that all the influencers who have been given what is a sample product will have to pay for it along with GST. There is GST that is attracted for it, and no more saying that, okay, I've got 4 bottles of shampoo. I will simply, click a pic and send these shampoos are good. Got it? Ani, are you there?
Yes, ma'am. Yeah.
Okay. Then we talk about e-business communications, which is the first electronic fund transfer, obviously, which we use to transfer money from one account to another. There is no paper money involved, and it is through a centralized, warehouse, clearing house. And the second one is FDEI, which is Financial Electronic Data Interchange, which is EFT plus EDI. So it is computerized exchange of payments between business and its customers.
Yes, ma'am.
Then value added network, again, you could have one or two questions based on this. So it's basically you have the EDI in place, but you want the EDI to have an extra level of security. So just like VPN, you say, I want a separate network, a private network. Okay, so this guy, what he does is a private network provider hired by a business to facilitate EDI with special software, hardware, and long distance communication. So basically, it's like outsourcing, and this guy gives you a value added network. It's a separate network for you, and it has EDI. Then obviously, you know what is a VPN, which is a virtual private network. This first thing, advantage of VPN is very, very cost effective because it uses public wires. Okay, public wires, using public wires, it gives you a secure connection. Okay. Then you have LAN. LAN is for a limited geographical area. There are different topologies in a LAN, like a bus topology. Then you have a ring topology. Then you have a network topology. I hope I don't have to go through in detail about it because you know what it is, isn't it? Then we talk about
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like
A
many
topology is
networks
a
are
system,
connected.
it's a structure. So a ring topology is it's like a ring round circle where every system is connected. Then you have the network topology where anybody can communicate with anybody. Then you have a bus topology where it is a centralized, every computers are connected to a bus. And now we talk about WAN, which is wide area network. The geographical purview of a WAN is very, very wide. And of course, nowadays we have the virtual LAN also. We talk about e-commerce. So here it is business to consumer, any business or commercial transaction that transmits information over the internet. Consumer based retail sales, which is Amazon. Then auction sites like eBay or anything. Then you have music site like buying music. Then all the B2B activities like I told you before, those also include e-commerce. So it should support the overall strategy like business objectives. It should have validity, integrity, privacy. Then it includes supporting investor and public relations, marketing and advertising, buying and selling products and services, tracking purchases and sales order. It is a complete thing. Whenever we talk about e-commerce, you just have to have in mind, imagine you buying something from Amazon. So what are the things you do? That is what, and by imagining that, you will be able to answer. Supply chain management. So here what is supply chain management? You need to know, basically it is like again everything is being logged. So supply chain is when you have more or two people from whom you buy. So there you need a supply chain management, tracking purchases and sales order, buying and selling products and services, marketing and advertising, and supporting investor and public relations. Advantage is it streamlines business operations. Greater marketing capabilities and reach, expanded operating hours. Nowadays we talk about anytime you want you are able to order because you don't go and see a physical place where you have to go order, bill it and come. Improving cash flow by decreasing time via online collection. So anytime we want we are able to pay. The speed with which it is happening is very, very fast. And reducing operating cost by lowering transaction cost. Now transaction cost is what? Say you walk into a shop. Say assuming you walk into IKEA tomorrow. There is a person, there are at least 10 counters. You will have to appoint somebody. There's overhead cost. He will have to take care of your billing, etc., etc. Whereas if you take an online sale, all that you have to invest is only a big warehouse where the products are dumped based on some category. And the minute a person orders online, that is being transported and given to you. What are the risks? Availability versus downtime. See, your e-commerce should be available. If there is a downtime, like for example, let's take the example of common tested example of IRCTC. You try to book a ticket. Normally a ticket, I think 4 months before if you book, it has got some concession or they open the bookings 4 months before. So what happens that day, if you see, all the agent will start booking. So there is a downtime. Similarly, the time that when you check results for an exam, there is a downtime. Security and confidentiality, authentication and integrity, vulnerability to hacking. So this has to be taken care. And legal exposure. Now different nations, different laws. One best example I could give you is recently there was a lot of hue and cry that there was a this flip flops chappal, Hawaii chappal flip flop that was sold with some Hindu gods and goddesses on it. Okay, so which got sold very easily in other countries, whereas in India, when Amazon had listed it, there was a big hue and cry saying that you are insulting our religion and you cannot do it. So there is a legal exposure, people can sue you. So different nations, different laws, you need to know and act accordingly. Stock outs and high shipping cost could be there because any organization, any sales, I think stock out is a common risk, and there could be high shipping cost because if there is a stock out, you tend to give them 1 day delivery, 2 day delivery. You will have to ship it at a very faster rate, and there could be shipping cost involved. So now before we go to business information system, just give me a minute. Do you have any doubt till here?
No, ma'am. But ma'am, just wanted to know, this is just just wanted to know if this is just of all the things which we are gonna study, or how is it, ma'am? Already we have started
No,
with
no.
some of.
Yeah. So what we are doing is, initially I gave you an example gambit of the entire syllabus, isn't it? Now
Yeah.
what we are going to, if you take your syllabus, it starts with risk assessment, change management, security, availability, confidentiality, and privacy.
Okay.
That is the first part. Okay. So there we have actually covered something today. Then tomorrow we'll be covering this. Actually today also we are covering IT controls, but tomorrow we'll be covering in detail as to what is the input control, processing control, and things like that. Then we have the logical and physical control. Then we have the business resiliency, which will have BCP and DRP. So, and then we have the data management relation, which we are actually doing now: data governance, extract, transform, load data, and data visualization. So, what I'll be doing is, as we first finish the thing, the entire gambit of things, then as we do questions, then we'll also be going through your manual. So, that way you will be able to relate as to what you can do.
Yeah. Okay, ma'am. Sure, sure.
Okay, because if I do it in the order of your this thing, there are concepts that you might not understand. So I'm just giving you a concept in a structured way, and then we will try to connect.
Yeah, yeah, sure, ma'am. Sure, sure. Because I understand. Because IT, anyways, we should not try to spend much of time. We have to understand and then just.
Yeah, and also if you see the entire gamut of BEC, 15 to 25% they say, no. So what happens is, you could have about, the least they could ask you is 4 to 5 questions in the 31 MCQ, or you could have 7 to 8. Similarly, the next 31 MCQ is the same way, 4 to 5 or 7 to 8. Then the 15%, maybe one question of task based and written communication you would have.
Yeah, okay, ma'am.
So in all this, if you see, only if we go through this way, you will be able to relate the key words and you will be able to answer. Because if I'm going to simply go through the manual, it is going to get really be boring.
Yeah, yeah, got it, ma'am. Yeah, sure.
Hello, sir. Welcome back.
Hello, hello. Screen sharing, Lerka. Is that
No,
sharing?
I have stopped and I was just talking to him. I'm going to resume again.
Okay, right. Please.
Just a minute, sir. Okay. We did one simulation question today. You're able to see the slide, no? Mani? Mani, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am. I'll.
Yeah, okay. So we stopped here with this thing. Now we are going to see a business information system. See, all these systems, if you see, you just have to know what are the advantages, disadvantages, and what it is. That's all. So
Yeah.
our gambit of the scope of our syllabus is only that much with respect to this. So here again, if you see, it is for designed to use technology to provide relevant, reliable, and useful information to decision makers in a timely manner. See, again, we are referring to time. Okay. Then it includes a variety of components, like again we talk about IT assets like data, software, the IT infrastructure. Then reports can be very detailed, showing you more than you ever wanted to know. And the timing of the business information system should be periodic. So basically, what is a business information system? It is a business information system, using information system in your business. That's all you need to know. And the relevance of it is very, very limited still. Now, management information system is a small part of business information system where it helps in the daily decision making, production, finance, marketing, distribution, and personnel functions. If you see the first 20-30 pages of the material, it is based on this, where they give you the entire cycle of how things happen, etc., which we'll be going through in detail later. Now, types of MIS is first decision support system. Now, decision support, the keyword is semi-structured, you need to know. And it requires the use of judgment. It doesn't necessarily provide you with an answer, but just aids you. It gives you the information required so that you can develop the answer. Then you have the executive information system. It is for a long range objective because it has the word executive in it. That's how you should remember. So basically, it provides a summary of financial and non-financial information. An expert or knowledge-based system, it can suggest expert decision choices for the inexperienced decision maker. And also you will be able to run it using a query model, like if and then. If this happens, what could be the solution? And neural network, similar to expert system, but learn from mistakes. Now, this is a very, very important keyword because you could have 1 or 2 questions in reference to neural network. So whenever you see the word neural network, you need to know the keyword is learn from mistakes. So it is very, very similar to expert system because it is going to suggest expert decision choices. But at the same time, it can also learn from its mistakes, whereas your expert system cannot. It is not that robust. So learning from mistakes is related to neural network. Then management reporting system is called data mining. And when I talk about data mining, the simplest example I can give you, you time and again hear people saying that, oh, Google is hearing you. Time and again, you know, when you do a search history and then you log into Facebook, whatever you have searched, those ads come. Have you observed? So that's called data mining.
Yeah.
So when they do data mining, the common word or the key word that you need to know is pattern recognition. Now the word pattern, wherever you see in a question that has data mining, that will be the answer. Now if they ask you in a data warehouse, how can I do data mining? One is analyzing the patterns. If one of the option is there, you will have to choose that. So a management reporting system is sometimes called data mining and it's relationship mapping. It looks for pattern recognition in the data. So it's data integration and knowledge discovery. So basically you look for patterns in buying, just like I gave you the example of lifestyle, you know, few minutes back for relational database. So whatever we do, there is data mining happening around us. You go purchase something from Decathlon. The minute your name is put, they analyze the pattern of your purchase, then they suggest you products, and that's how it goes. So there is basically a pattern recognition everywhere. Similarly, here also, data mining is very, very important. A data mining system can aid in identifying unexpected relationships, streamlining operations, and marketing analysis. The best example I can give you of data mining in MIS is your banking software. You know, you have been say transacting for less than 1 lakh all your month. Suddenly at the end of the month, you transact or you send someone or you receive something, more, very, very high or very high from your normal transaction. Immediately they'll say that your card is blocked because they are doing data mining. They are looking for activity that is unexpected. Okay.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah.
Or you can take care of your Netflix account where you share your password and suddenly there's a lot of logins. Immediately, data mining happens and it says that so many unauthorized access has happened. Please do not share your password, or it will deny access. So something like that. Now we saw types of MIS. Now accounting information system. Identify and record all valid transactions at the proper amount. See, like we say, right place at the right time with the right person. Like that, it should be proper amount, proper period, and it should be classified properly. Just like our old times where we studied accounts, you can use that accounting principle. You can use that to understand what an accounting information system is. Present them as per disclosure. See, wherever we studied, you would have seen the entire gambit of it. There is a legal disclosure or, integration with the business objectives, that being the bottom line if you would have observed. So here also present them as per disclosures. So here an accounting information system contains various elements in the accounting cycle. This is what is being discussed in the first 30 pages. Although the information contained varies industries and business sizes, it includes revenue, expenses, customer relation, employee information and tax information. See, any accounting transaction you take, what could be the broad category? You could have revenue, that is incoming of, incoming of funds, expense where it is outgoing. Then you could have a customer information, like objective information of an entity, which is data, which we discussed. Then there is a personnel who is doing it. So that is employee information, your HR. Then tax information, because these related to disclosures. So here specific data include sales order, analysis reports, purchase requisition, invoices, check registers, inventory, payroll, ledger, trial balance, and financial statement information. The next is transaction processing system, where we talk about any transaction. If you see, it is only an extension of AIS, where we talk about revenue. Now, when we talk about revenue, it's like taking customer order, shipping the goods, providing bill, and collecting cash. Then we talk about expenditure, where you request for goods and services, purchasing, receiving, and paying. Then conversion, basically it is what converting purchase goods into available for sale. Like you have to assess the requirements, schedule production, issue materials, and then actual producing. Then finally, the general ledger, receiving transaction produced by above 3 cycles, recording necessary adjustments, and produce managerial financial report. Now, one question could be about general ledger, where they could finally ask you, provide managerial financial report. That could be your keyword. Now we talk about ERP. I think we can continue tomorrow.
Yes, sure, ma'am. Yeah.
Because I want to do some questions before we go to ERP. So what we can do is tomorrow we can start with few questions and then slowly progress with ERP. So just to give you a full summary of whatever we have done today. So we saw the gambit of the entire syllabus. So any organization has got policies, procedures, it has got a standard, then it is governed by control objectives, and control objectives are achieved by logical and physical controls. Then there is a risk assessment, and in case of disasters, obviously you have BCP and DRP. And what are the 5 IT assets? Hardware, software, data, network, and people. Then we spoke about the various terms like about data. We saw what a DBMS is, how actually it helps. We spoke about what else did we do?
EDI. Then
EDI is important thing. Then we spoke about data, different data structures like hierarchical model, relational database model, which is very important. You could surely get one question on that. Then time sharing model and all that. Then we just briefly saw what COBIT is. Then we saw TCP IP, which is very important because it's a protocol. Then we also spoke about the different control objectives. So basically all the control objectives gets into what are the 5 things under which it comes. You can say security, availability, integrity, confidentiality, and privacy. So irrespective of whether you know to write an answer, like just like we saw in the simulation question, you should be able to do. Then I also spoke about the important keywords for efficient and effective. Whenever we talk about time, it is surely efficient, effective, and whenever we talk about resources or streamlining operations, it is efficient. Then we also spoke about briefly about what is BCP and DRP, where we told that it has to align with the organizational objectives. Then we also saw about the different kinds of backup in place. First, we need to have a proper plan. And then DRP, we saw hot site, warm site, cold site and all. And most important, you need to know is in disaster, it is at a point in time. So, resuming back operations to a point in time. That is our objective. And most important, what is the first step in BCP is identifying the critical areas. Then we also very briefly saw about in network. We saw what is a network. Basically, it is internet. So there we saw about the different transmission modes. You could have 1 or 2 questions based on that. Serial versus parallel or synchronous, asynchronous. Then we saw about switching techniques like circuit, packet, and email switching and all that. So here basically you could have questions in simulation. You could have questions where they could define something and ask you what it is. Okay. So that way you need to know. Wait, I just want to. I'll just ask you one question. Would you be able to answer?
Yes, ma'am. Yeah, I'll try.
Yeah, okay. Required by the SEC for reporting the taxonomy codes information in electronically readable format. This open information format standard enables automated sharing of numerical and textual information contained in financial statements and other business reports. What is it?
It is an FIS, right?
No, they are asking you this open information format standard. It's a standard. Just like how we spoke about ED,
XBR,
right? Exactly. Very good. Good try.
Extensive Business Reporting Language. Yeah.
Super. Okay. Then I'll just ask you two more questions. This second generation language is for microprocessors and other programmable devices with a strong one-to-one correspondence between the language and the architecture's machine code instructions. So written programs in this language is time consuming and prone to error. What is it?
Can
See,
you
you
just come
thought,
again?
yeah,
Can you
I'll
just
come
come again?
again. See, normally, people who attempt CPA, they might think, okay, these are all basic levels like, generation of computers or languages. See, there could be a question based on that. So here the keyword, this second generation language is for microprocessor and other programmable devices with a strong one-to-one correspondence between the language and the architecture's machine code instructions. Writing programs in this language is time consuming and prone to error.
Proton.
No, sir.
No idea, ma'am.
COBOL.
It's assembly language because just like how we saw in the slide also, second generation means it is assembly language. The key words that you should decide is it is based on machine code. Like you have machine code because it starts with what? Assembly language is basic, no. So from machine language, you have the assembly language, the next hierarchy. Then you have the higher level languages. So it is based on machine code. So the next line will be assembly language.
Oh, got it, ma'am. The pyramid you're talking about, which
Yes,
you had.
yes. Now the next one. This first generation language is the elemental language of computers, a set of symbolic instruction code. It's only code consisting of a long sequence of binary digits, zeros and ones. Every CPU has its own unique version. What is it?
The machine.
Perfect. Yeah, machine language. Correct. Okay. One last question. These languages have many routine procedures pre-programmed. The programmer states what it is to be done, what necessarily have to, how to do it. They're often related to a DBMS that allow programmers to create database structures and manipulate data quickly and easily.
Probably, if you can just pop out that pyramid, I'll be able to tell from where it
Pop
is.
out. Yeah, we can do that. Just a minute.
Because I remember, I remember machine language. I remember Pascal, and when you told about assembly language, yeah, in between them, I need to
Data
memorize them.
mining.
Illa sir, actually data mining comes much later. Are you able to see the pyramid?
Yeah.
Okay, now if you see, first they asked about you have the hardware, then which is only code binary digit is machine language. Then the next is assembly language, which is developed using the machine code, so it's assembly language. And the next one is the high level language or the fourth generation language. Now the answer to the question that I read out is the fourth
Fourth
generation
generation. Yeah.
because it is in English. You are able to see, you are able to process programs like wordல வந்து how you process file, animation, save, like that. So that is why it is a high level language, and or you can say fourth generation language. Just a minute,
Yeah, done.
just for
Yeah.
my satisfaction. Okay, this is like okay, I'll just ask you this question. This should be easy, okay? A category of business management software, typically a suite of integrated application that integrates core business processes such as customer order, taking, scheduling, manufacturing, marketing, distribution, and financial reporting and analysis.
ERP.
Perfect. So you could have and next one, a computerized database of financial information that is organized, programmed, constantly updated to produce periodic reports. Periodic reports used for operational, tactical, and strategic decision making within a given organization.
MIS.
EIS.
MIS.
MIS. Okay.
Super, sir. Okay, I think on that note, okay, one last question, okay? Because this I want you to answer. A flexible database approach supporting the information needs of multiple users from a common set of integrated database tables or files. Each file contains common data on a particular group. For example, a master customer file. What is it?
Relational.
Perfect. See, I told you, you would always have, there are areas which they would always test you with. And relational database is one.
Yeah, okay, ma'am.
Okay, so I think on that note, just a minute. Okay, sir, I think on that note, we can close for today.
Okay. Shall we stop then the recording?
Yeah, sure.
So when is the next class?
Tomorrow, sir.
Okay, right.
Yeah, we'll have continuously this week so that I'm also able to complete.